welcome. Actually, this is the first sort of official Sonic Lab of 2017. I'm here with Andy Mack from Akai Professional, and all the stuff you heard about the MPC Live and in fact the MPC range is true, because we've got one here, right?
That's right, yep, first one you have.
I mean, it looks like the MPC Touch, if you don't mind me saying
Yeah.
so, which I'm sure it's not.
Yeah, completely different. The first thing you'll notice about MPC Live is that there's no power supply. It's actually running on an internal battery, which charges once you plug it to the mains, and it gives you about 4 to 5 hours battery life, because it's fully standalone as well. This is a full standalone MPC, but it's also a controller at the same time, so it's a hybrid. So you get the best of both worlds, basically.
Right, but we've still got the same kind of touchscreen and pads and encoder arrangement. So
No.
I mean, there's a computer on board, presumably. I mean,
Yeah,
that's right.
That's
okay.
right. We got a completely new screen technology. So this is a multi-capacitive touch screen. It's very, very sensitive. It's an absolute joy to use. It really is. It's so sensitive. And some of the things that we can do with this, it's just responsive. It's absolutely
Yeah, I mean,
amazing.
I must admit, compared to the MPC Touch, which isn't bad at all,
Yeah.
this just feels like there's less latency and it's more immediate,
Yeah,
right?
it's just, it's actually a joy to use. And we've done a lot of artist days with MPC Live, and one of the things that kept coming up was just how amazing it is to actually use the touch interface. And to be honest with you, this is what we all use nowadays. Everybody's using touch interfaces.
It's multi-touch.
Yeah, that's right.
Right, okay.
Yeah, it's multi-touch.
So maybe we should go through the kind of basic hardware, because there was some stuff leaked previously, and I understand it's
Yeah.
not quite
Yeah.
as that was. So
Yeah,
we can go through that.
it's it doesn't go into the spec details, which
Right.
is quite phenomenal. So we have our master volume, we have our headphones, we've got 6 individual outputs here. We have input stage, we have phono and jack. This is switchable. We have a ground level here for your turntable, so you can sample straight into MPC Live, utilise all the features. For MIDI, we have 2 MIDI in, 2 MIDI out. So if you want to drive all your external modules, keyboards, you can drive all that directly from MPC. We've got 2 USB ports here, and this is great because we can use all of our external hard drives for sample content, and we can also use MIDI keyboards and hook those straight up into here, or even a QWERTY keyboard to rename all of your samples. Then we move to the end. We've got our USB 3, which is backward compatible with USB 2, and we can connect and go straight into control mode for MPC 2.0 software. And then we've got power supply here. And as you can see, that's not connected because we are running on the internal battery, and we've been running for just over 5 hours today. And an SD card here. So again, you've got the ability to put samples straight in via SD. We have a SATA docking connection underneath, so you can put your own drive in. So you can put like a 2 terabyte hard drive, and then you have a 16 gig SSD drive inside, which has got about 10 gig of content. And we're also running the full 2.0 software. So it's not a condensed version down to run on the hardware, it's running the full-blown 2.0.
So it's full MPC 2.0
Yeah.
in there.
Yeah,
So does that
you've got
mean
it.
any changes that reflect, people
Yeah.
get with the touch or running on the desktop, they're going to get the
You
same
got it,
stuff?
yeah, same experience.
Wow, okay, that's pretty impressive. So I want to go back to the USB. So
Yeah.
class compliant MIDI you can plug
Yeah.
in there and have essentially, an external keyboard or
Yeah,
whatever.
That's right. Or you can plug in you can also plug in a keypad as well. So if you want to type in numbers and stuff and letters and name your samples, you can do that. But you can also plug in any USB MIDI keyboard, use this into key group mode, and then you can start playing all your own keys and chords and everything.
Okay, right. Did I understand correctly that it's also got some networking capabilities as well?
Yeah, it comes with built-in Wi-Fi and Bluetooth capability as well. More will be announced about that.
So you really pushed the boat out on this one. I mean, it feels like
Yes.
there's a lot of stuff going on. And with, obviously with the MPC 2.0 software, there's a whole
Yeah.
lot of new functionality going on in there as well, right?
Yeah, that's right. Hell of a lot. We've looked at MPC and all the the great features that have inspired so many other products, and we've really taken the whole workflow to a whole new level. So what you will experience now is all of your classic MPC features, but we've now got audio track capability, so you can now basically record live audio. But it's not just that. You now have the ability to use real-time time stretching. So if you're doing remixing and you're remixing vocal acapellas, you can now bring in vocal acapellas, they can time stretch in real time, and now you can start making all your beats and tracks around all the vocal parts. You can use it live to be running multiple audio stems. And then adding to that, you can go into clip launching mode, which has never been heard of on an MPC before. And again, this is utilizing all of the time stretching algorithms that,
So you're changing the tempo of the session. You get. Yeah. So I just want to go back to that. So the audio tracks.
Yeah.
So effectively, if you wanted to, you've done your production, you can bounce some things, or if you've got some live vocals, you can bring that and then use that as a live sort of backing track and play additionally on top of that with sessions and clips as well.
Yeah, so let me show you. So I'm in a standard sequence here. So if I go to audio here, I go to edit audio. So this is my vocal part here. Now, if I play this vocal part, the original vocal is at 93 beats per minute. So as soon as I select that, it's in warped mode, and the original BPM was 92 beats per minute. So if we just play that back, go to my master tempo. So depending on what type of track that I'm producing, I can now just lock in my tempo in real time and build up my track around it. It also gives me all the facilities to cut, chop the audio, again in real time. I can select audio regions, move them around the screen. I can also do stuff like this where we can take the semi-tuning down of the samples as well. Which
just of a clip within the track.
So we could just take this one here, we could knock that down, say 5 semitones, just take that back.
Your body burns me like fire, fire.
And that's still maintaining the right, okay, so that real-time time stretch stuff, I mean, is obviously, there's a lot of grunt going under the hood. And how many tracks can that work across?
So basically, you've got 8 tracks of stereo audio capable on standalone mode, but if you're in control mode, you have pretty much unlimited audio tracks.
Control mode?
2.0.
So you can connect this to the computer and it'd effectively be a touch?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so just to make it clear, when you're in standalone mode, you have 8-track capability. When you go into USB controller mode and interface into 2.0 into your laptop, so you get the best of both worlds.
Is there a way to integrate the both? So, in control mode, you still get access to some of the DSP or the audio interface part?
No, it's one or the other.
One or the other,
yeah,
right, okay.
One or the other.
And I guess one of the things about this, because the screen is running from its own OS, it's super responsive. That is there a way to output the HDMI out or anything? We haven't got any kind of monitor outputs on this. No, it's all self-contained.
Yeah, everything's self-contained. But obviously, the responsiveness of the screen is phenomenal. So we can go here. You can see.
Yeah, that does seem pretty snappy, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah,
and yet I noticed you're not using your fingernail either.
Yeah, I know. there is no lag. Like I said, the screen technology is completely new. It's an absolute joy to use. It really is, and it's so fast as well to actually program on. The workflow is so efficient.
So the whole thing can be basically run standalone.
Yeah.
I'm not hearing a fan in here either, which I know that's because a lot of times when you've got an onboard computer, there has to be heat display, but it sounds like there's no fan going on. So, that's going to please a lot of people as well, I'd imagine.
Pure silence.
So tell me a bit more about the MIDI stuff. So we've got 2 MIDI out ports.
Yeah, 2 MIDI in, 2 MIDI out. So then again, you can access those very
So you can
easily.
run a MIDI sequence track.
Yeah, so we can just go straight into MIDI. We can then select our MIDI outputs, and then we could be driving a Moog or whatever you want to do, external modules, and then bring that arrangement straight into your sequencer, and then see your grid edit and utilize all those functionalities.
Wow, so I mean, it really is like a sort of dedicated DAW box, but running the MPC 2.0.
I think the world of standalone has become something that people want more and more of. They don't want to be tied to the studio. They want flexibility. And to achieve that, you have to have the best of both worlds. People want the flexibility of being able to travel, make beats, create their tracks. But there's also an end game that people want to bring it back into the laptop at some point.
So in terms of exporting, if you created all this stuff, can you bounce it all out? And
we just save it. You just save the project and open up the project in 2.0, and then the project's there. And then within 2.0, you've got the facilities to drag and drop straight into Logic or Ableton or whatever you're using. So interfacing between the two is very, very seamless.
So what, you do that with an SD card or a USB stick?
You could do it with an SD or
you just
USB. You just go MIDI, you go to control mode, and now you connect to 2.0, and now you can literally open up the project straight in your laptop. So interfacing between the two is very seamless, very seamless.
Nice.
And again, any projects that you're doing on the computer, you just save them.
And they can come back this way.
They come straight into standalone mode, then you can go wherever you need to go on your flight, finish off your project, back to the studio, back in control mode if you want. So it really does give you freedom when you're making music.
So you mentioned clip launching. I mean, this is a new feature. This is something we haven't seen before in MPC world whatsoever, right?
Yeah, you know, it's become very apparent that the kind of workflows that people are using is very kind of clip based, which really does rely on audio time stretching. So bringing this kind of feature to the MPC, it takes it into whole new categories, you know, whole new territories, different music genres and everything. So.
Right.
And it's the most easiest feature to use because not everybody can finger drum and not everybody wants to finger drum and they can't do that kind of stuff live. So having the ability to use audio, not just for audio tracks, but for actually triggering loops just made so much sense. Now I can go to my programs and I can select different types of clip programs, same as what we do with drums, but as you can see, they're all in lanes now. So let's just go to Organic House. So now I've got drums, bass, melodics, vocals. Now I can literally just highlight these and launch. And everything's mapped to my tempo as well. And this will all obviously run alongside audio tracks as well. So if I'm performing in a club, I could have a vocal a cappella playing and I'm launching clips around those vocals.
Underneath it, right.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that kind of brings the question is like, so what's the polyphony we're talking about? You know, how many of these concurrent things can you run? Because you've got the audio tracks plus clips plus samples plus
64 stereo voice polyphony.
That's a decent amount of numbers, and then presumably you've still got the ability to put insert effects and all that.
That's right,
and that's all running internal to this as well.
Yeah, everything's running internal, so I can still put 4 inserts onto each pad, inserts onto each program, inserts onto each track, and on the masters. Right. And again, if you're using a computer, you always optimize everything to make sure that you're not going to max out everything by putting endless amounts of inserts.
Right, but there's
on
plenty of stuff there. And that's one thing I didn't ask. What's the kind of bit rate and sample rate, you know, bit depth and sample rate that this runs at? Will it mix and match, or does it all have to be, you know,
24-bit, so 44.1.
44 one. That's the fixed kind of thing, right? Okay. So what's the interface like for the effects? I mean, presumably you can control it from.
Yeah, it's a very simple interface. So depending on what the effect is, so let's find something that's going to have a number of parameters. Let's go vintage compressor, select that, go to edit. So now you can see that I've got my input, attack, release, ratio, threshold. So I can either tap on each one of these independently, just double click, and then I have the parameter there and I can use the touch. Or I can just use my control wheels, my encoders.
All the Q legs as well,
basically.
right, okay.
And again, if you're in control mode, you'll have the same UI, and then you can actually access all of your VSTs and AUs to do the same thing. And
can you run that in real time across inputs as well, or are you?
Yeah, obviously this runs in real time anyway, but if I'm sampling, I can actually put effects on my inserts and run those in real time as well.
Right. Okay.
So
I mean, it sounds like, you know, it's really joined a lot of the dots, so you can create and also perform, but do it on the go and then stick it in the computer. So it's sort of like the MPC software did, but you've got this now back in hardware effectively.
Yeah. You know, it's to talk about 2.0 for a second. 2.0 has completely been redesigned. It's a whole new product in itself, the 2.0 software, and this is running the full 2.0 version. This is not a condensed version down of the software, it's the full-blown software. So any changes that are made over here will be running inside the standalone.
So you've got parity between the desktop and the...
Yeah, you got it.
Okay.
Obviously, the control will always utilize the processing power of the computer. But one other thing is we should talk about briefly is integration between virtual instruments. So if I've recorded some virtual instruments, I can simply drag those as audio tracks and play them back in here.
So you can render them, you can render them,
so
and
you
then
just
have
do a
them
simple render, which you do with one touch inside MPC software, and then you just save those as an audio track, so I can play back Silent or whatever.
So I'm guessing for live,
yeah,
that means you've kind of bounced your stems effectively, and you're good to go.
That's right. So it's, you know, it's very effective, especially for the guys who want to do live remixing, live performance. But also if you're in a studio and you're halfway through a production and you've got to go and do some DJ sets and go traveling. And funny thing, a lot of the artists we spoke to, that's what they do.
Right.
They're 1 minute they're in a studio session, then they're traveling, and they don't really have the facilities to continue their track. So basically stemming out some of the stuff that you've already already done in audio, running it in audio tracks, and then building up the rest of the track around.
Because I guess you can then still re-edit and rearrange and organise.
That's right. You know, everything can be re-edited. You can bring in all your own samples. You know, we supply over 10 gigabytes of samples directly on here, and that's through MVP, Loop Masters, Capson Audio, sample tools. So you've got so many sounds in here. You've got clip programs, you've got real instruments, we've got strings, we've got dance samples, everything. So it really is a workhorse of a product.
And that comes actually standard. And then if you want to bring your own things in, you can stick them on SD cards, transfer them over USB, eSub, whatever.
Yeah, that's right. You know, I think there's a generation of people that love to sample, love to create their own sounds, but there's also a generation of people that want everything instantly and want sounds made for them. So we've got our huge expansion libraries that we've been working on now for a good couple of years.
Yeah, you've got a lot of content, haven't you? And partners as well. I mean,
yeah, huge amount of partners. A lot more people come in, so there's instant content now across all genres for MPC. And with these facilities, especially with, you know, when you look at what the product's called, MPC Live, it really does do that thing. No power supply, fully standalone, clip launching, audio tracks, MIDI, drums, samples. You can effectively produce and perform anywhere you like.
So that's the feature set. I mean, obviously now it comes down to price. I mean, I'm expecting all of this is going to cost a pretty penny, right?
Well, actually, no. I think when you sum up what the MPC Live is, which is standalone, clip launching, audio tracks, MIDI, sampling, control mode, you're looking at $799 UK pounds, which is €909, which is about $11.99.
That's pretty competitive.
Very, very competitive. So yeah, it's a great price point for something that has so much power.
Yeah, well, it does sound like. I mean, I should mention also from what I've been hearing in the room that the D2As do sound really nice as well. And you've got that kind of you've got the same emulation sort of modes and classic modes as well.
And that you can basically put the MPC Live into different modes as well. So if you want to have the 3000 emulation or SP1200, whatever you want to do, you can actually put it into that mode and everything will utilize that particular emulation.
That's all the master outputs, right?
That's right, yeah. Or you can utilize it by inserting it on individual tracks or pads, etc.
Okay, so if you want crunchy beats,
you can choose what you want to use.
So, I mean, obviously with MPC 2.0, I guess people are going to be kind of going, does it still have the classic MPC workflow? Because that's ultimately what has made this such a successful kind of style. So does it?
Yeah, no, it does. And then this is a great thing. When you add everything else that we've now implemented with features, you go into your classic MPC mode. You can go through your drums. And also, just with this kind of screen, it's great because just to really show you briefly, if I just pick a tempo, let's go down to let's go to 96, and I'll just do 2 bars really quick.
So that's the note repeat stuff you've been doing, right?
So now, what I can do, I can zoom in. Here's my snares. We can literally go, don't snap, move them off the grid. And I can start loosening up the whole beat. I can just grab any notes that I want to do. So we can just zoom over here, grab the notes, move stuff around. Here we go.
So you can get pretty tweaky with it.
Oh yeah, it's fast. Like I said, you know, I'm literally moving stuff around the grid now. Move back. These are my snares. Pull into these. Move them.
Loosen them up a bit, right?
Yeah. So the whole beat. So you've got all the classic features. You've got all your drum layering as well. So we can take our snare and then we can just layer straight onto that snare. We can go to our kick and we can start layering onto the kick. We can use our envelopes. We can resample. So it's very, very fast.
Right, so you've got all of that kind of cool stuff going on there, right?
Yeah.
Andy, that's amazing. I mean, I think, you know, what I've seen here, it shows that you, not only is it kind of standalone has been asked for a very long time, we've got that, but all of the new features of MPC 2.0, there's quite a lot of cool stuff happening in there. So have you got something that you can show us and maybe talk us through that utilises all of these things at the same time to play us out with?
Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to play some clips. I've got audio track a cappella running in the back, so I'm utilising one of the tracks out of the 8, and then I'm going to bring in some classic MPC drums as well. So I will start off with a vocal. which will come in, bring in melodic.
So this is
drums.
utilising the clips.
Then we've got vocal, come in. There's a vocal. Go back to clips. XY effects. So we can go do XY effects live. Jump between different types of clips. Now what I'm going to do now, we're going to change up the type of clips that we're playing. Now tech house.
So that's a new set of clips and the audio track is still playing in linear mode, right?
Speed it up. And now you can go to track 2, drums. So this is classic MPC drums. Now go back to clips. XY. So that kind of gives you a quick demo of how you can combine all these things together. So, you know, a cappella vocals, audio tracks, clips, drums, live, no computer, no power supply, you know, sky's the limit, it really is.
Andy, thank you very much for coming in.
Anytime.
So if you're watching this now, we shot this a little bit ahead of time, so this should be out in the world. So
this will be available, I'd say, end of February.
Right.
We went through the pricing already. So yeah, MPC Live.
Fill your boots. That's it for this special Sonic Lab. Thank you very much for coming along, Andy. We'll see you next time.